of technology. We must up our game as a nation and even as a government to be able to get into those spaces and control and understand what are Kenyans consuming. Because before, the terrorism used to be an act of people coming and bombing the nation and doing all those things. But with the new technology, that terrorism is no longer fashionable. You may find the new ways of terrorism is to radicalize people and even coming with a way to occupy their space. Like even we have, gaming probably, which are also done online. They are not even physically, they don't even have a physical office within the Republic of Kenya. But because now we have opened that space of online, they are able to get to game or to bet and even to do other things in other countries. So as a nation, we must be able to protect and see what our people are consuming in terms of money, how much, because even people are paying these games online, people are paying these to get these pornographies online, to get these materials online. The Communication Authority of Kenya, and I congratulate Honorable Member because it's giving them power to make sure that there is a way that they can be able to control whatever is being consumed by the Kenyans, Madam Speaker. And whatever is bad, whatever is good, they can be able to arouse and to know and to occupy that space and make sure that they are able to control the best way they know how. Madam Speaker, it's not even about money, because it's not a money bill, and it's not even putting a lot of resources to the economy, but he's really trying to use several sections and the authorities that are there to make sure that we control our people, we control our space, we manage whatever our children are consuming. Because every child who is about 5, 8 or years, every child has a phone. He's on YouTube, he's on TikTok, he's on Instagram. And sometimes you may not, even as a parent, you may not really be able to control, but we even want to call upon the parents to make sure that they're also controlling and watching what their kids are watching back at home. Because without that without that amendment of this bill, at the end of the day, we'll be, giving our children or feeding our children with some materials that we're not even aware of. Madam Speaker, we must even be able to deal with the religious, some of the religions which are cultism. You find someone following, he follow it online, sit down and worship, do those kind of things that they are doing. And at the end of the day, when you follow into deep, you realize that, this is not even about the religion. It has turned out to be a cult that people are worshiping and doing online, Madam Speaker. So therefore, as a nation, we must be prudent with the responsibility that we have been given and make sure we control the cyberspace and give it freedom. Because all of us has been, in one way or the other, we have been culprit of social media misuse or cybercrime misuse, even swapping of phone. You have your phone with you, someone take another copy of your ID and swap your SIM card, and at the end of the day, you lose a lot of money that probably you're not even aware of. But because probably someone came with an ID and made a fake ID, those things you find that you have been robbed a lot of resources, and maybe also your idea has been used or misused, probably online, Madam Speaker. So therefore, it is good, and I want to congratulate Honorable Member for coming up with such a bill, so that at least we can be able to clean up that space of the social media and also control whatever is happening within the Republic of Kenya, especially online, Madam Speaker. And therefore, I support. Thank you.
Thank you, Kawanjiko. The Honorable Esther Passaris, member for Nairobi County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the Computer Misuse and Cyber Amendment Bill number 24 of 2024, sponsored by the Honorable Adam Dawood Mohammed. This bill is not about silencing Kenyans. It's about protecting them, especially our children, from the dangers that unregulated online spaces bring into our homes. A child can sit in the comfort of their living room, phone or tablet in the hand, and in a matter of seconds, be exposed to predators, extremists, recruiters, or explicit pornographic material. Such exposure not only distorts their moral compass, but also erodes their social and cultural fabric. We must stand firm. Popular platforms should be compelled to introduce strong filtering systems to prevent minors from accessing harmful contents. And if they refuse to comply, we must be ready to restrict or even block them in the interest of public safety. Honorable Speaker, other nations have acted decisively to protect their citizens and uphold their values. India has temporarily banned TikTok and other apps of harmful content. Indonesia has blocked platforms until they adhere to national content laws. Australia and the United Kingdom have compelled tech companies to implement age verification and content filtering. Closer to home, Tanzania recently blocked access to the platform X, formerly Twitter, citing the platform's allowance of pornographic content, which they deemed contrary to their laws and cultural norms. These examples show that defending moral standards online is not only possible, it is responsible, and governments around the world are taking them serious. This bill strengthens the powers of the National Computer and Cybercrime Coordination Committee to act swiftly against platforms that promote illegal or harmful content. From child exploitation to terrorism, to cultic indoctrination, to phishing scams and swim swap fraud that has cost Kenyans their life savings, that has cost Kenyans not only their life savings, but also, Honorable Speaker, this is where criminals pretend to be trusted organizations and lure individuals and trick people into revealing sensitive information like passwords, bank details, or ID numbers, often through fake emails, texts, and websites. Kenyans enjoy some of the widest freedoms in expression in Africa, and nothing in this bill removes those freedoms. What it does, it closes loopholes that criminals, predators have been exploiting, ensuring that liberty is not used as a shield for abuse. I therefore support this bill and urge not only my colleagues in this House, but also Kenyans who are active online to look beyond misinformation and understand what the bill truly seeks to address: the protection of our children, the safeguarding of our economy, and the preservation of our moral and cultural values. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Wilberforce Oundo, member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me also stand in solidarity with my colleague, Honorable Daud Ahmed, in supporting this the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Amendment Bill 2024. Honorable Speaker, I come from a liberal world that has been averse to censorship and some form of control. However, Honorable Speaker, over ages, over years, with this new technology, social media, now having grown up to become a grandfather, I'm starting to have a serious look at this matter in view of the impact it has on the minds of the small boys and girls. So on that score alone, in principle, I support the bill in principle. However, Honorable Speaker, I have 2 points of concern, and I would want to ask my colleague to listen clearly. It's nothing against the bill, but I have 2 points of concern. Number one is the inclusion of terrorist act as part of one of the acts or crimes that can cause disabling of our website or application. I say so, Honorable Speaker, petty boys and girls, petty young boys and girls, young men who participated in various mandamanos and demonstrations and picketing have been charged under the Anti-Terrorism Act. My fear, Honorable Speaker, it therefore means any act to mobilize members to participate in a picketing, in a demonstration that is soon hijacked by goons hired by other politicians and ends up in the destruction of properties, it means that particular boy and girl will be, his gadget, his phone will be disabled, his social accounts will be disabled, literally rendering him inaccessible, and probably if he was using the phone to make money or to make a living, he would be done completely. So, Honorable Speaker, I would want to ask my colleague, and at the point at the Committee of the Whole House, I'm not very technical savvy, but I'll seek the support, the guidance of those who know. We need to redefine or temper on the meaning of Terrorism Act. The fear of being misused. I have Gen Z children, I have millennium children, I have alpha nieces and nephews. I can share, Honorable Speaker, that even if they have to communicate amongst themselves, even if they have issues as to us parents, they can easily fall within the armpit of this particular bill. So that's a thinking that we must be alive to. Any government can become rogue anytime. Giving a government unfettered powers to regulate to such a deep extent, then, Honorable Speaker, brings an issue that we need to reflect as a country. We might be curing a malady, we might be curing a social problem, but we are creating a dangerous monster capable of being misused. It was common, Honorable Speaker, when we were at the university. We never used to have riots and demonstration. We would engage the police with the simple stones. They throw tear gas, we throw stones. Since they've got helmets, the injuries are minimal. They will throw tear gas that doesn't explode, we throw back. Honorable Speaker, under these circumstances, even if we mobilize to collect stones so that for self-defense, using our phone social media, it can easily fall under the definition of terrorism. Second, Honorable Speaker, under Section Clause 3, that's amending Section 6, that gives powers to the committee, functions of the committee. Honorable Speaker, and the committee, Honorable Speaker, we are referring to here is the National Computer and Cybercrime Coordination Committee to switch off a website or an application when they suspect that the same is promoting illegal activities. Again, the legal activities have not been clearly defined. Are they under the penal code or any other law? Child pornography, terrorism, extreme religious and cultic practices. Honorable Speaker, it takes me back again very fast, not too far. Tanzania the other day, when the Kenyan boys and girls indicted them in cyber warfare, what did they do? They switched off X. Honorable Speaker, I think it was on 25th June or 7th July, the government decided to switch off live broadcasting, which was illegal. My fear, Honorable Speaker, we have issues amongst ourselves. And many times we must find a way to vent those issues. If, Honorable Speaker, you are in the process of communicating your constituencies, mobilizing them for a worthy cause, or a legitimate resistance to a certain government decision, it gives the committee unfettered rights, authority to literally says or render your gadget inaccessible to cut you off the network. We might be legislating to solve a problem, but let me again warn, we are creating a more bigger problem. We are giving the government, and all over the world, Honorable Speaker, the government, so now in this country, the executive, can never be trusted with too much powers, too much restrictions.
Professor, Professor Wilberforce Oundo. You know, your name is big, Wilberforce. I can see your hand is up, Honorable Suleka Harun. Anything out of order? Do you have your card? But your hand has been up, so I would like to indulge you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I am standing on Standing Order number 95. As per the mood of the House and as per the contributions already done, this bill is already accepted by most of the members. We can now call the mover to reply. Thank you.
Why the hurry? I'm still on the floor, Speaker.
You will conclude, then I'll find out whether that is the mood of the House.
So, Honorable Speaker, I'm afraid. I'm extremely afraid. The history of this country does not give us comfort that the government or the executive can exercise the powers the unfettered powers we are giving them judiciously, consciously, and the best interest of the people of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, what will stop the government? Use very spurious reasons. Wake up and say the communication between members of parliament on our WhatsApp group promotes illegal activities. What will stop them? When we are protesting, any attempt to deny constituencies, CDF, what will stop the government from doing that? I would therefore request, Honorable Speaker, there must be a mechanism where somebody can be brought to your attention, given actions to remedy. If you decline to remedy, then there must be a judicial system that at least you are switching off your gadget. Honorable Speaker, when you go to clause 6, this is timely. I totally agree. Swim swap, theft of identity is becoming a big issue. Honorable Speaker, any given day in this country, you do not know what is fake, what is genuine. You do not know whether it's a clone account, it's a fake account. We must rein on this. So I congratulate you, my friend. I would have called you the other name, but this is where unanswered. But I request that be open to comments, amendments, because you might be the government today, but tomorrow you'll be out of the government. I'll join me in crying. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well, honorable members, I'm inclined to indulge the Honorable Jerry Maina, member for Kirinyaga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'll be very brief. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Member of Parliament, Aden, is a good friend of mine. We were in some committee together before I was suddenly de-whipped and I joined the crying of Honorable Oundo. Honorable Speaker, I do rise to support this bill. It is very timely. It is very succinct. And in regard to the same, I would like to highlight clause 3 of that bill, concerns that have been raised by the Honorable Member of Parliament who's spoken before me, Honorable Oundo, that particular amendment is a bit problematic. You find that the term illegal and terrorism has become very broad and vague. And Honorable Aden, being a member of the JLAC committee, knows that anything illegal is defined in the current legislations that we have. We have the penal code that is there to cater for that, and we have relevant statutes that define what is illegal. Leaving it in that broad perspective opens it to exploitation by perhaps the state or other actors that might find terms, like maybe perhaps one term. You might wake up and hear that one term is illegal, and due to that, it can be prone to abuse and can also affect protection of Article 37 of the Constitution of Kenya. Further, as a wind-up, Honorable Speaker, the NC4, and that is the National Computer Cyber Crimes Coordination Committee, cannot be the judge, the jury, and executioner of what is termed as illegal. It is also important that we check on the definition of terrorism. I can tell you that as an advocate of the High Court, I have been at Kahawa Law Courts for over 3 weeks, where more than 75 young people are being charged with the crime of terrorism, while what is purported to have perhaps they had allegedly committed is well within even the penal code. And like Honorable Oundo has said, today it might be convenient, tomorrow it might not be convenient for you. Let us always make laws for the posterity of this nation. I support and I congratulate Honorable Aden. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Kirinyaga. Honorable members, the Honorable Suleka Harun rose on standing order number 95 and requested that the mover be called to reply, and I would like to find out whether it is the mood of the House that I call upon the mover to reply. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Next order. And I call upon the mover to reply. Honorable Harun Dawood.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Let me thank the members of this August House for their very intelligent contributions to this piece of legislation, proposed piece of legislation. And let me assure them that I have keenly listened to the concerns that they have raised. And those concerns, I will incorporate them into the bill. It is true that illegal activities is a very broad term. And when we reach the stage of the Committee of the Whole House, we can bring an amendment to define, not to define, but to limit those illegal activities to what is currently outlawed in the laws of Kenya. I want to assure the members of this House that I drafted this bill in 2024. It had nothing to do with what is happening today, people being charged with terrorism. But terrorism is defined in another act of parliament. And that is not the act of parliament that I'm amending. I'm only using terrorism as defined in that act of parliament. Madam Speaker, I beg to reply to this, but I also request you that under section 53.3 of standing orders, that we don't put the question now and we put it when we have a quorum. Thank you.
Okay, based on your requests, it is extended to. Next order.
Order number 13, the Birth and Death Registration Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 37 of 2024, second reading.
Yes, the Honorable Mother Wangari.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to move that the Birth and Death Registration Amendment Bill 2024 be now read a second time. Madam Speaker, this is a very simple amendment that stemmed from last term, just about 2020. I brought a motion on this floor that was very well supported by many members, Madam Speaker. And this was about the civil registration services in our country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, people may look at a birth certificate as a simple thing, or a death certificate for that matter, but there are people in this country that accessing that document has become a mirage, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, yesterday there was a debate here, and the day before, debate here by the Minister of Education on chemis, on NEMIS, even today, Madam Speaker. You cannot be able to register for NEMIS without a birth certificate. You cannot be able to get even your passport without a birth certificate. And Madam Speaker, many other uses. This is a matter of a human right. This is a matter of identity. This is a matter that is a right, an inherent right that cannot be taken away, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I did my research when I did that motion, The support I got from this house was immense, and it was a proposal from that time that we then turn it to a bill and then an act of parliament, so that it does not leave the pleasure of the CS in charge of interior on where to put a birth and death registration office. Madam Speaker, we have about 238 sub-counties in this country, and these offices and services are only in 157 sub-counties, Madam Speaker. So my proposal that time, and maybe things have changed, so I'll keep updating, Madam Speaker. This department falls under the Ministry of Interior, National Administration, State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services. And this department, Madam Speaker, is responsible for the compulsory and mandatory and immediate registration of all births and deaths that occur in Kenya. This is what gives the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics the statistics to be able to help the Ministry for Planning and all government in terms of services and other requirements for the communities. Madam Speaker, the Mother Act of Law establishes the civil registration services in the Births and Death Registration Act. It was enacted in 1928. The department has the mandate of issuing birth certificates, birth notifications, and death certificates. Something that is so required, Madam Speaker, even a death certificate, when people are applying for bursaries, some for the vulnerable children, that they need to attach a death certificate. And if you don't have it, then it becomes a problem. Madam Speaker, if you're dealing with succession issues, you need a death certificate. And it becomes very hard to actually acquire one. From experience, Madam Speaker, Gilgil, which has a voter registration of about 100,000 voters, was combined with Naivasha with almost 170,000 voters to get these services from one office in Naivasha. Madam Speaker, there's a time the Ministry of Education had put a timeline, and one time I woke up and went to that office in Naivasha. I found some people from my constituency who had traveled at night to be there at 8, all the way from the edge near Joro, near Narok East, to be able to access this document. And Madam Speaker, going there does not even assure you that you'll get it. So they will queue the whole day, they are overwhelmed, and the services were not working, and you'll get the system is down and many other technical hitches, Madam Speaker. These people will be hungry the whole day and still not get that document. Madam Speaker, this is the story in many other counties in this country. Madam Speaker, if you look at Nakuru, we only had 4. Out of 11, we only had 4. In Njoro, in Naivasha, in Nakuru, in Bahati, and one more. It is only after Gilgil was added, Madam Speaker, that you can be able to say we have a few. But we still have Subukia, we still have Rongai that still are not covered by this very important service, Madam Speaker. If you look at Mandera County, Mandera is one of the most disadvantaged counties, Madam Speaker, because of the distances that you have to travel. Citizens traveling over 400 kilometers, Madam Speaker, to access this right and service that is very critical to them. Madam Speaker, if you look at Marsabit, the same. If you look at Turkana, the same. West Pokot, for a long time, has only had 1, yet the square kilometers are very many and you are not able to cover, Madam Speaker. So this very simple amendment, Madam Speaker, has a lot of importance that cannot be gainsaid in this house, Madam Speaker. Many members here help their constituents trying to get this document to be able to register for school, to register for other services, Madam Speaker. Even now when we are speaking of Kazi Maju, how you cannot be able to get a passport without this birth certificate, Madam Speaker. And what happens when there's a scramble for services, Madam Speaker? Corruption comes in. So you will get some unscrupulous member of the community or even administration charging people money to be able to access this service that should be easily available from the government. Madam Speaker, I was able to appear before the committee that is in charge, led by Honorable Tongoyo. We had a very long discussion. We debated about sub-counties and constituencies. Madam Speaker, I personally was going for constituencies for one reason, that there will be a political push and a political need for every member of parliament to have their constituency office working. And why I say that is because when I requested one for Gilgil, I was told there is no money to be able to give you an office, to give you furniture, to give you, and I told them, just give me a registrar and a clerk, Madam Speaker. We were able to give them an office, which was actually next to my office, and they have been able to operate there from 2020. It is only now, Madam Speaker, I have been able to do as an administration complex where I will house the Gilgil Land Registry together with these civil registration services that they are going to move to the new building. But Madam Speaker, from 2020, in Gilgil we have registered over 40,000 birds so far, and we have registered about 4,000 deaths so far. What does that tell you? That the need is there, and all we need is to have the goodwill. If you tell a member of parliament to give you furniture, to give you a place to sit, just give them a registrar and a clerk. They will do it, and will ensure that these services are close to the people. Madam Speaker, what this does, it has made it easy for my sub-county and my constituency, because nowadays I'm able to just say facilitate the registrar and the team to go to the schools. Just recently, we were doing in Mitimingi, we have going to Oljurai very soon, and many areas that I've done, Madam Speaker, because that is where we need, in terms of capitation for schools, we need the numbers, and so we are taking the services closer to the people. If the area is smaller, then efficiency is improved. Madam Speaker, I know there's a lot to say, and I know many members have so much to say in terms of supporting, or in terms of experiences that they have dealt with in their constituencies. But when I appeared in the budget committee, or before the budget committee, I was able to convince them that all they need to think about in terms of money first is the human resource. Have enough clerks and have registrars. If we get these two to start, then it goes growing. Furniture and other things, we can assist each other through CDF and through other ways, Madam Speaker, so that we get these very crucial services to the people that we represent. So, Madam Speaker, I would not want to take more time. I would want to move, and I would beg to move, and I request the chair of the Internal and Interior and National Administration to second, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Chairman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And from the very onset, Madam Speaker, I want to really congratulate the Member of Parliament for Gilgil, Honorable Mother, for coming up with this very progressive and very important piece of legislation. And Madam Speaker, as she has put it, the issue of birth certificates and deaths, of course, are the birthright of every Kenyan. And Madam Speaker, we should be able to appreciate, and I think she had put it very right, that in her amendment, she had suggested that she wanted to be legislated, that it is in the law, so that it's not within the discretion of the CS or the ministry or the State Department, so that it is anchored in law. And initial proposal was she wanted to be per constituency, but having gone through it and having consideration by the committee members, and of course that will still come during the committee, the committee stage, that we rather have it taken down, closest to the mwananchi, to the sub-counties. Because, Madam Speaker, this is not a political office, it's more of an administrative. And it was in wisdom and consideration of the committee members that it should be tied with the DCCs and other head of departments, to include education, to include NRB, that is the IDs and the rest. And currently, although she had actually rightfully put it, as it is, and I think she got it a little bit, maybe the latest, is like we have got 167 civil registration centers in the countrywide, against actually gazetted sub-county units, which totals about 400. So that tells a huge, huge gap. And that, of course, Madam Speaker, tells that majority of Kenyans could not access these essential services and documents by mere lack of, because of the distances. Because if they have to travel several kilometers to access such services, definitely it tells you that they may not be able to get them just because the services are not closer to them. And the amendment by the honorable member will go a long way to ensure that Kenyans access these services, crucial services, with ease. Madam Speaker, I don't want really to be labeled. I know, Madam Speaker, this sector, and I think even the CS put it very rightfully yesterday, is undergoing a lot of reform. And there is a lot of programs and a lot of effort to automate the entire civil registration services. And currently, they're putting up what is known as UPI, that is unique personal identifier, which is going to be a number that every Kenyan given birth, every Kenyan will get this number from birth and carry along with that number until death. It is end-to-end system and is going to make it easy even into the future during the issue of the ID. In fact, the whole aim is that to make that even ID, you don't need to apply again because the information will be captured from birth during this issue of issuance of this certificate, uploaded into an IPRS system so that it make it easy for Kenyans to get it. So, and Madam Speaker, is also good to note, just recently, the State Department had carried a pilot in Nairobi last 2 weeks, and the results were very promising into rolling out the issue of UPI, the unique identifier, unique personal identifier. And it's going to really make this, the issue of ID cards, I mean the issue of birth certificate and the entire system automated. Madam Speaker, I think it's also good to note that despite the issue of shortage of these services, we have indicted the ministry severally over the same, and the outcry has been the issue of shortage of civil, the issue of civil registration officers, which is, currently they have a very acute shortage of staff. Currently, they have got around 325 against an establishment of about 1,200. So that also tells why possibly these centers are not across the country. And of course, recently, just in this current financial year, the previous one, the ministry took a little bit of recruitment of a few staff, and but they are still, the gap is still big. They still have a shortage of close to 700,000. And we have been actually, as a committee, indulging the State Department to see whether they can able to mobilize resources to continuously recruiting, so that as we look forward into putting up offices across the country, we still have the staff to do the same. Madam Speaker, I think personally this is a very progressive, very important bill, and with this, I beg to support. To second, sorry, I beg to second. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Honorable members, I now propose the question, which is that the birth and death registration amendment bill, National Assembly Bill number 37 of 2024, be now read a second time. On the list, I have the first person as the Honorable Njeri Maina. Just rely on the list. Honorable Johanna.
Thank you.
Let's rely on the list.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this bill by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Gilgil, Honorable Martha Wangari, and commend the timeliness of it, because when we enacted the 2010 Constitution, we intended to ensure that we devolve services to the Kenyan people. This bill is going to ensure that the Kenyan people indeed get the very critical services of getting a birth certificate, a death certificate, a passport, an identification card, documents that are very critical for Kenyans to access other services, and even for the Kazi Maju program that is being initiated by the government. Honorable Speaker, putting in perspective Kirinyaga County, we have only one Huduma Center, which is in Kirinyaga Central Constituency, and we have people coming from as far as Mwea constituency, and Mwea constituency is very vast because it has east and west, all the way going to Kerugoya to get critical services. As we are talking about even the 2027 general elections, let us see how we can fast track this so that young people who I have seen from time to time arguing that they are unable to access identification cards within a particular timeline are able to get their identity cards so that they can make their citizenry duty and exercise their right to vote for their candidate of choice. So this is very timely, Honorable Speaker. We need to action it as soon as yesterday, Honorable Speaker. And this House, when we are doing the budget allocations, it should be a priority because every Kenyan deserves to have these services at the local level. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Timothy Toroitich, member for Marakwet West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the motion by Honorable Wangari, and I wish to congratulate her for this very progressive bill. Honorable Speaker, this bill seeks to give effect to Section 6.3, Article 6.3 of our Constitution, which provides that the state shall ensure that there is reasonable access to its services in all parts of the Republic. Honorable Speaker, you realize that we have a very vast country. In fact, there are certain counties in this country that are bigger than other African countries. If you compare a country like Turkana, Turkana is bigger than Burundi, Rwanda, and Djibouti combined. So you can imagine that from one end of a county to another, it's almost 800 kilometers. So if those constituencies do not have these basic services, then our people, the people of Kenya, shall suffer getting basic services like these registration certificates for both birth and death. The only maybe proposed amendment that I would give is, I don't know whether the honorable member presented, that because in the bill she talks about taking those services to each constituency. Under the National Government Coordination Service Act of 2013, the recognized National Government Service Delivery Coordination Unit at that level is a sub-county because of the vast nature. Before a constituency is divided into a sub-county, the factors to be taken into account is the vastness. So maybe that's an amendment that we need to bring so that we have it at the sub-county level and not, at the sub-county and not the constituency. Honorable Speaker, there is an obsession in this country that an office is a physical unit or a physical structure. Like the move of the motion has put it clearly, even a tent with 2 officers or an officer is enough so that you don't have to have an officer with a swinging chair to be able to serve our people. Even a tent, if the resources are not unlimited, then even a basic structure is enough to serve our people. What our people need are services, not big offices where they can be able, where they want to swing and just not serve our citizens. So, Honorable Speaker, because this matter squarely lies in the docket of the Ministry of Interior and National Coordination, I thank the CS for Interior, who has been moving around through the Jukwaa la Usalama initiative.
Order, member for Marakwet West, the Honorable Stephen Mule. Is anything out of order? Or you are being strategic? Yes. Okay. Okay, you may summarize.
So, Honorable Speaker, as I summarize, is that this matter falls squarely within the docket of the Minister of Interior, and I wish to appreciate the current CS for Interior. He's been moving around the country through the Jukwaa la Usalama initiative. And when he came to our county, he appreciated the fact that those services are not available. So, Honorable Speaker, we expect a report from him, and when that report comes, identifying the gaps, as a House, we must be very deliberate in allocating resources so that we make this a reality. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Johanna Ngeno, member for Emurua Dikri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm really glad to speak to this particular matter, Madam Speaker, since it is a matter that has been troubling us for quite a length of time. Madam Speaker, many of our residents, of our citizens, in wherever they are, they suffer this particular situation, and especially when the Ministry of Education introduced birth certificates as a compulsory document to use in the registration and in the allocation of, if it is the funds which are allocated to both primary and secondary school, Madam Speaker. They made it compulsory that unless a child has a certificate or a birth certificate, you cannot access those particular services, Madam Speaker. And therefore, this should have been gone, it should have gone in tandem with the compulsory decision that every child must use a birth certificate, and that every child also must be made easier to access that birth certificate. But when you look at the situation we are having currently, Madam Speaker, people have to travel over 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers. People have to use over 5,000 to 10,000 shillings to access these particular certificates, Madam Speaker. And yet it has been made compulsory in registration. So I think at that particular point when the Ministry of Education was making it compulsory, should have also made it accessible to all the kids just around those areas. And in fact, the idea of Mheshimiwa Wangari to bring it even to the sub-county level, that one should have been done previously by the ministry, so that now we should be discussing of even devolving it more to the ward level. Because, Madam Speaker, these are services that are supposed to be given by the government to the people of this republic. Just like the national identity card, they should have, in fact, the national identity card is not even more, although it is being used severally, but you see, that one comes only when you are 18 years. And that is when you will have the capacity to even look for it. But for the birth certificate, this is a certificate for a small kid, probably on birth. So this should have come even up to the ward level so that people can access it. Madam Speaker, however, I'm excited with this amendment, and I believe that it's going to go through, because this is something which has made our people suffer, spend a lot of money, and made most of the kids, like when you go to some schools, Madam Speaker, most of the kids do not access the capitation. I think they call it capitation or something like that, because they do not have the birth certificates. Madam Speaker, I'm one of those people also who suffer. In my constituency, Murwadikir, we do not have births and death certificate registration office. And I don't know, I would have wished the chair was around, because I have fought for that particular office for, I don't know, around 3 to 4 years, trying to work on it. I've even leased an office, Madam Speaker, paid rent for something like 1 year, painted it, even painted the births and deaths, just to look like an office. I've even bought computers. I've bought, furniture to that office, but it is still lying idle. I have kept on calling these people that these are surfaces you people should be looking for us to ask us, where can I put this office? Not the other way around, not members asking you, we really want an office. So, Madam Speaker, I think this is a wake-up call to the Interior Department, and I would wish the peers concerned to really take these matters seriously, implement it immediately upon the passage of this House. We don't want this thing to wait. We have been appropriating funds here, Madam Speaker, towards the same. So we want it acted upon as fast as possible so that our people should not be traveling long distance. Mine are traveling as far as Kilgoris, which is around 50, 60 kilometers, and it's very expensive. And sometimes when there are issues along the borders, Madam Speaker, our people just stay at home, they cannot access it. Lastly, Madam Speaker, as on the question of UPS, I don't know, the UPI, the minister was talking about it yesterday. I'm a little bit skeptical, Madam Speaker, because I normally read the Bible in tandem with our Constitution, and the Bible tells us there will be a number that will be branded on each and every face, number 666. which will be. So I'm a little bit skeptical on that UPI stuff, Madam Speaker. I thank you and I support the amendment in totality.
Religious matters. Now that you have talked about religious matters, I'd like to give this opportunity to the Honorable Naomi Wako. Actually, I have been trying to check whether you have inserted your card, member for Catherine. Yes, it's there. The Honorable member for Busia is the one that I'm doubting. You may proceed, Honorable Naomi Wako.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to this very important debate on the Births and Deaths Registration Amendment Bill 2024. And also thank Honorable Martha Wangari for coming up with this. Honorable Speaker, if there is any amendment we need now, it is this in this country. And thank you, Mheshimiwa, for looking, ahead and for being ahead of us and being concerned with the future generation, because this bill will assist a lot our young people. Honorable Speaker, I come from one of the largest counties. My county is the second largest. And the farthest from the headquarters is like 300 or 400 kilometers away. And normally, people travel to the headquarters to get their birth certificate. And especially now that the government has said that the birth certificate is a requirement to all primary school children admission, and it is a must for every child to have their birth certificate as they register or as they enroll in primary school. Honorable Speaker, some of us during our time, the only thing we did was to just hold our ears and show people that at least we are of age. And they used to check us and confirm that we are citizens, and especially those of us who come from the border. Now we are beyond that, and birth certificate is a serious requirement. And also as they register, it helps even the education ministry to have the data, what we call the NEMIS, to identify, to have the data, and also track every student, and also in allocation of funds to schools. So it is a very serious requirement, and most of the schools in northern Kenya today are not even getting the funds because some students don't have the birth certificate. So what do we need to do as a government? Honorable Speaker, the best is to make sure that we bring the service closer to the people. And we have the DCC offices. Honorable Martha has suggested that in every constituency we have, because we have 290 constituencies, and we have 143 only under this office of birth and death certificate. So if we can even go further and make sure that anywhere we have a DCC, we have that office, we make sure that birth and death certificate is there. Or even as people go to the hospitals, although I know in my place, some people don't even deliver in hospitals, we make sure, even as we just give the notification that a child has been born and all these other things, we make sure that the birth certificates for all the people who are around there will be issued as soon as possible. Honorable Speaker, this is something that we need to pass as quickly as possible so that that service can be brought closer to every citizen, so that our young children to school, our children who are going to school will benefit. Honorable Speaker, again, when we talk about birth certificates, it is 61 years since we got independence. And people like those people who come from Marsabit, they travel for as I said, over 300 kilometers to get their birth certificate. And we cannot continue that way. And that is why I suggest that we make sure that the service is brought close to the people, that we empower people. The only thing that we need is to have enough personnel, Honorable Speaker. When we have enough personnel, we can even have what we call mobile registration centers that, you know, even if it is under a tree, the staff can move there, the class can move there, and just say that today we are in this village under this tree and issuing birth certificates, and make sure that especially before the children join primary schools in January, we have like mass registration so that nobody suffers. Nobody suffers, because currently many students are in school and they don't have birth certificate, and even immediately we can make sure, we can just say that we want all the students in any school or primary school, registrations can take place there for any child who does not have any birth certificate, because that can help, because I know, like in my place, there are students in classes who do not have their birth certificate. So we can say, let us make sure as a government that we have mass registrations in all the schools to make sure that every child is having his or her birth certificate, and then we come up with the idea of bringing it closer to the people, and we do that as soon as possible. And every December, November, December, we have mass registration to cover those people who come from far areas and remote areas. Thank you, and with those few remarks, I support and I congratulate Honorable Martha.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu, member for Kitui Central.
Wow. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to start by thanking Honorable Martha Wangari for this important bill, and more so thank the people of Gilgil for bringing her back to this house. Because, Honorable Speaker, this bill was actually moved in the 12th Parliament, but because of the time it takes to process a bill, it expired with the 12th Parliament, and you can see it has taken about 3 years for us to find this day being debated, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, we have a reason to thank the people of Gilgil for bringing Mother back to this house so that she could actually continue this bill and see it up to the end, becoming an act of Parliament. I want to associate myself with those who are saying that it's important that we get these offices in the sub-counties, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you realize that the first certificate you get, even before you go to any school, just minutes after you are born, is a birth certificate. And then after you get that one, you'll be able to acquire other certificates as you leave. And then the final certificate you get is a birth certificate. A death one, when you die, Honorable Speaker. Which means this bill is very important because it opens the doors for Kenyans to get the first certificate.
Honorable Makali, on a light touch.
And get
the last one, the last certificate.
Yeah, the last one.
Maybe other people get it for you.
I mean, but it is yours. It is written, it is on your name, so it is still yours. Even though the people use it to do other things, but it's still on your name. And that's why these certificates are very important, Honorable Speaker, because you realize that, for example, it is not mandatory that for you to register for most of the exams, starting the first one, you sit as a child, you must have this document. So, which means, really, parents have to go out of their way, Honorable Speaker, to get this document. And as members have said, some of our parents are going very, very long distances to access this document. In other areas, they travel today, get to the office, even find the registrar is not there, and they go back to their homes, and they have to come tomorrow or the other week At times, they go to some of these offices and find very arrogant officers who don't even serve them. And they are forced by circumstances also to come back another day. So, Honorable Speaker, when I see an effort being made to have these offices near where we live, it is a step in the right direction, Honorable Speaker. And that's why we really want to appreciate and say that. I think the challenge has always been that we are very good at creating offices, but we don't make them operational. You have heard the chairman, Committee on Administration and National Security, saying we have over 400 administrative offices, and the only operational ones are 200 and something, Honorable Speaker. Meaning these offices are there, but they don't exist in terms of either office blocks or having an officer managing the office. So in that case, Honorable Speaker, we still have a challenge, because even if we pass this bill to become an act of parliament, I can tell you for sure, we are going to take a bit of time before we make these offices operational. So I think as a house, since we have the mandate to make budgets, it is important when we are doing the next budget, and I believe by then we'll have this been an act of parliament, we make necessary provisions in the budget so that these offices can become operational. In that case, we'll be helping Kenyans. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, where I come from and where you come from yourself, you know what our people go through to access this important document. When it comes to the death certificate, Honorable Speaker, we know most of the issues, land issues our people are struggling with, is because somebody passed on, they don't have a death certificate. Somebody passed on, they have not processed the letter of administration. And I can tell you for sure, because anytime I sit in my office, I see very old ladies coming to my office saying, Mheshimiwa, you know, I don't have the death certificate for my husband. On the basis of that, I'm not able to divide the land to my children. And this becomes a big problem to families. So the earlier we get this act becoming an act of parliament, the earlier we get these offices being near our people, the better for service delivery. And I think the government must come out strongly and support this move to have these offices. And not only these offices, we must appreciate, Honorable Speaker, the issue of the Huduma centers has really helped most of the areas. But you realize Huduma centers, most of them are still at the county headquarters. They are not found in the interior parts of the counties. On that note, still the same problem again comes up, that people have to travel long distances to access these documents. And more so where the students have finished school or they want to register, you find a lot of congestion in these offices. You find parents are forced at times to even sleep around there to get this document, otherwise they'll be locked out or out of registration for their children. And I think really, Honorable Speaker, then, as a house, then, Honorable Speaker, this bill becomes very important. As I conclude, I've heard the chairman of the committee talk about what he's calling the unique personal identification, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I really want this House to take this matter very serious, Honorable Speaker. Because, Honorable Speaker, if my memory serves me well, this is the third attempt. We are trying to have this unique identifier. Honorable Speaker, you must have heard something called Anglo leasing scandal. That scandal was one of the attempts to give Kenyans a unique identifier. Then we came the Huduma card, Honorable Speaker, which was done when we were in this House with you. And then just about a year ago, we had another card coming. And we've realized that all these attempts, Honorable Speaker, are attempts for people to use public resources for their own private benefits. We are benefiting private companies in an attempt to give this unique identifier, Honorable Speaker. So I'm saying, Honorable Speaker, the chairman, Committee on Administration and National Security, should assure this House that this further attempt will give us a unique identifier and not the stories we have had in the past, which come every 2 years. People get their card, they put it in the pocket, and they introduce it again. Otherwise, we should be able to say no to this process. Because the outcome of that process is very important to the country, Honorable Speaker. It doesn't make sense, Honorable Speaker, if I get to your debate now, I'll find so many cards there. And all those cards are talking about, Honorable Speaker. Other than just having one card, which you can use for energy, for share, which you can use for your bank, which you can use for everything. Just one card. But because we don't want to get it right, Honorable Speaker, we keep on going round, round, and round. So, Honorable Speaker, I thought it's important I say that, because we've said it many times, Honorable Speaker, that the issue of corruption in this country is a very, very serious matter. And I'm very happy, Honorable Speaker, yesterday I saw our President saying that members in this House, committees of this House, Honorable Speaker, although it was a very general statement, that committees of this House are demanding money from the executive. How I wish, Honorable Speaker, because our President has access to National Intelligence Service and he has National Intelligence information. How I wish he mentioned names and said, Honorable so and so, who is my chair of this committee, demands this money, and on the basis of that, he should be changed and we get a new chairman, Honorable Speaker. In that case, we will be helping to fight corruption in this country. But when we get this general statement, Honorable Speaker, I think we are doing a disservice to this beautiful country which God has given us. But I think, Honorable Speaker, I don't know whether it is in order for us at some point to get time to discuss this important motion. The motion that members of parliament are actually being bribed to change committee reports. How I wish you had time, and that becomes a motion of this House so that we can debate it for 2 or 3 hours and put things straight as they are. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Catherine Omanyo, member for Busia County. And I would like to request Secretariat or the Clerk's office to check on the cards on this side.
Yeah,
I believe they are not working.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially for Catherine Omanyo, I mean, we had, the table had to ask her whether she's waiting to speak.
Yeah.
So I would like to apologize, but
you.
please continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am in support of this motion because devolution came for a reason. We have to move all the services near our people because looking at how our infrastructure is and how our families right in the remote areas are, it is best that we put most of the public offices very close to our people. Just recently, one of the youths that got a job to go abroad, who had no birth certificate, had to travel, and before traveling, he had to ask for fare from their village to go all the way to town. Only after filling the e-citizen questionnaire, they are sending that young man from Busia to Kisumu to get immigration offices there for other services like getting his fingerprints, because he was looking to get the passport. We applaud devolution, but then is it really with us? Very few services have come to the people. We need these Huduma centers that are right in the county towns. We need them to have sub-branches into the sub-counties so that people should not be traveling very far from their remote villages to get such services. Even birth certificates and let's say essential ones like death certificates as well, they should not travel so far to get these essential services. Devolution, if we don't do this, it will die with time because people get worn out and they don't see the need or they don't see the advantage of such a good idea that came to us at the right time. So I really want even these Huduma centers where, in fact, we used to have post offices nearer people, but somebody packed them up again and took the post offices very far where Huduma centers are situated. So can we, with time, rivet in this noble idea that devolution came at the right time, but we have not actually done enough to make our people own it and encourage
more services moved closer to them. So, Madam Speaker, I just wanted to say that, and I thank you.
Very much, Member for Busia. The Honorable Stephen Mole, Member for Matungulu.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. First and foremost, I want to congratulate my sister, Honorable Mother Ongari. I know it has been long overdue for us waiting for this bill to come to this House. It is a very important bill, Madam Speaker, for simple reason. We have been in this House for a fair time now, Madam Speaker, with you. And you know very well how we have struggled as members of Parliament from across the divide to make sure that we have these registrars' offices in the constituency. And I think, Madam Speaker, for once, we are doing the right thing as a House, whereby we will not leave it to the CS to destinate these officers to our constituency. Madam Speaker, I feel pain when such a service becomes illusion to some of Kenyans at this time and era after 54 years of independence. Madam Speaker, it pains parents to look for this document, especially the birth certificate. And I want to look at a county like Machakos, whereby we have Huduma centers in a few constituencies, and the other constituencies have to wait for officers. Madam Speaker, sometimes I have to hire vehicles for the officers to ferry them from Machakos to Matungulu constituency for a week. And at the end of the day, these officers, you have to buy them lunch, you have to provide transport. So it's the high time this service is taken to the people, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it also pains when we know the amount of money spent by the uniqueness of people hiding behind the identifying number. Madam Speaker, we were with you in this House, whereby every Kenyan registered for Huduma number, for Huduma card. Where did that data go? Madam Speaker, as we speak right now, a country like Rwanda, only one document of identification, which carries all the information of the citizen, which eventually we are being told they are transforming that one unique card to be their passport, Madam Speaker. It is important, Madam Speaker, as Kenya, we see how best we integrate all the information of every citizen in one document, Madam Speaker, to make sure that Kenyans don't spend more money, don't spend a lot of time looking for this document. As in my constituency, parents need to use the MCAs to make sure that when they go to Machakos, they come back with their birth certificate. It is unfair, Madam Speaker, and I think it's the high time the government of the day and this House, we do the right thing. And the right thing is to make sure that we get this amendment fast-tracked. And I want to request you, Madam Speaker, to speak to the Honorable Speaker of this House so that this bill does not elapse like the other one. So that the House looks at the importance of this bill and be fast-tracked to make sure that it sees the light of the day, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, having been a democratic country, it makes no sense whereby we are just thumping of devolution, yet the services are not devolved. Madam Speaker, the only thing which I know in Kenya is devolved and it works is CDF. And Madam Speaker, if we as members of Parliament agree with Honorable Mother Wangari, we must make sure that these offices are tied to the constituency offices and the sub-county offices, so that each and every Kenyan will be able to access this document without fail. And I say, Madam Speaker, because the President yesterday made the allegation, which it is paining to all of us. It is high time he gets his drag out shred this issue of corruption completely and let the executive identify those who go to them to ask for that bribe. Because, Madam Speaker, it is paining when your constituency is calling you and is telling you, we send there to be our representative, yet you go to ask for bribes. Madam Speaker, this afternoon I've heard also something else which is very interesting, which probably might kill Senate or devolution in this country. Honorable Raila has put the senators on notice not to call governors to order, Madam Speaker. I will tell you, Madam Speaker, this House must stand for its own right. And as members, we must stand to be counted to protect the august house in this country. Because, Madam Speaker, it's not a matter of a joke whereby allegations are thrown to us as leaders. It depends the image of this house badly.
Honorable Mule, you know, it's a house of debate, you know, and you can do it the best way you know how. Now you've just mentioned what the Honorable Raila Amolo has said. I'm actually trying to see the relevance to this bill. I would like to ask you, just remain relevant to the bill.
Madam Speaker, I'll remain relevant, and I know.
Because actually, we were in this afternoon, we can tell you for sure, we have been seated this afternoon here, so we are not even aware of what has been said, and it is difficult for me as I sit here to talk about the truthfulness of what you are saying. So I would like to encourage you to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll be encouraged to be truthful of what I've heard. And Madam Speaker, if we are not careful, even there are some people I know they will be ready, this bill not to see the light of the day, so that the unique identifying number comes to play. And that's what I'm saying. Some of the people want to take advantage of this country, and Kenyans who are not aware, Madam Speaker. And we are saying this, Madam Speaker, we are putting it squarely to the CS Interior to make sure that once this amendment is passed, Madam Speaker, each and every sub-county in this country have a birth registrar, at the same time have a death registrar. It is a right for every Kenyan. I've heard Honorable Naomi Wako talk about our constituency, our vast constituency of Marsabit. Madam Speaker, we have kids in school who don't have birth certificates. It is unfair, it is uncalled for, and when we say some of the issues we must protect, this is one of the issues. Because to be a Kenyan by birth is a right given to you by your God. It is not a matter of the government of the day. It is the reality. You are a Kenyan, but the government has a responsibility to recognize you without any more pain, Madam Speaker. So we are saying thank you and kudos to Honorable Wangari Maathai, so that this bill move with speed, this bill get implemented, and Madam Speaker, as a House, we need also to scrutinize the unique identifying number being talked about. Serious amount of money might be spent, yet this same ministry does not have money to give us officers to the sub-counties. We want to call it to the minister to make sure that he explained to the House, what is this unique identifying number? And as Honorable Ngeno said, matters of religious, which I don't want to enlarge to, please, as a House, we need to protect Kenyans who have their right by birth and who die dignified in Kenya, to have their death certificate given to the families, to make sure that at least matters of succession and matters of inheritance within the families are done in a fair and in a peaceful manner. I want to support, and I want to tell Honorable Wangari, we'll be seeking some amendments as we go on. I will share with you the amendments we want to bring so that the birth certificate becomes the key document for any Kenyan, and it must be digital, a card whereby each and every Kenyan will be proud of in the future. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Mishi Mboko, Member for Likoni and Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, first I want to congratulate my sister, Honorable Martha Wangare, for this very important bill. Madam Speaker, I know this bill just tend to do some amendment in Section 5 of Birth and Death Registration Act, whereby they're going to put a new subsection 1A, whereby the Cabinet Secretary will appoint a certain area and gazette that area so that it can be used for birth and death registration documents. Honorable Speaker, this bill brings services closer to the people. You need to know most of Kenyans cannot access these centers, which we call Huduma Center. I'm looking at Mombasa County, where we only have one center at the CBD of Mombasa. And I'm looking for people or persons coming from all the way from Kisauni, the farthest Mwakirunge, traveling all the way to the CBD of Mombasa County. The people coming from Dongokundu, where my constituency lies, they have to travel across the ferry and reach to the CBD of Mombasa County. Those coming from Changamwe, those coming from Jomvu constituency, which is really very far. You can imagine at Bonje, where it borders Mombasa and Kilifi, and they have to travel all the way to Mombasa County to acquire this document. So it is good that it's going to allow Kenyans to reduce transport costs first, also to use little time to access this document, and it's also ensure that they access this document, which are very important, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you need to know that it is important for our children going to school that they need to have the birth certificate. Without the birth certificate, even registration in school is a challenge. Then we need to do all the ways to ensure that it is accessible. Two, the issue of inheritance. You know, most of the processes, before the inheritance processes are done, you need to have what you call the death certificate. And it is very, very difficult. In fact, most of Kenyans, especially those coming from the rural area, do not even understand that if a relative or a person dies, you need to acquire this document. So when we have an area in the sub-county or in the constituency, it means we can also do some outreach services, whereby maybe within a month or twice in a month, you can do the outreach program. You go to the villages, you sensitize Kenyans, and you allow them to do the application, and later on they can acquire those documents, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, also this bill will uphold the Constitution and human rights, Madam Speaker. This country is being governed by the rule of law, and our mother law is the Constitution. Madam Speaker, in the Article 6.3 says that all state organs shall ensure reasonable access to services in all parts of the Republic. But what we are seeing right now, it is not true. So many areas, especially the rural setup, do not have centers where they can acquire these services, Honorable Speaker. So it means it's like we are violating this Article 6.3 in the Constitution, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, also there is a right to legal identity, and that is Article 14. Non-discrimination, that is Article 27. And also children's rights to a name and nationality. Nationality also is about the birth certificate. To be known, to know your name, where you coming from, who was your father, who was your mother, and all those details. So it is very important when we are doing so, having that center at the sub-county level. At least it will ensure even those coming to the villages, maybe they can walk. It's also still a long distance, but at least because it is within the constituency, those from other villages just within that constituency, they can at least walk, they can use boda and reach that center where they can acquire this document. And by doing so, we'll ensure that we are upholding the Constitution, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, also the bill improves data for government planning. Nothing is being done without planning, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we need to plan to ensure that the services we are given to Kenyans are adequate, and we cannot ensure the planning if we don't have the data. We need to have the proper data. We need to have proper records of Kenyans so that we can plan in terms of health, How many infrastructure are we supposed to do, both at the national level and at the county level? In terms of security, we need to know how many infrastructure, the services we want to do in terms of security, in terms of agriculture, and so many other services, Madam Speaker. We need to have the data, because if you have the best data, it means you have the best plan, Madam Speaker. Because most of the things you are doing, we are seeing now, and the challenges we are facing, it is because we don't have the best or the correct data. For instance, the death certificates. Death certificate is a big challenge because not all persons who dies, they acquire this certificate. At least for the birth now, Kenyans are empowered somehow because any child taken to school is being asked to have that birth certificate. And it is now that the parents are really trying very hard, even using the members of parliament, using the member of county assemblies to ensure that they acquire these documents. But for the death certificate, it is a big challenge. Most Kenyans, and especially those in the rural setup, they don't know about this. They don't think the importance of this. But when it comes to the inheritance issue, now they see this is very important and we really need to have it. So I want to say, Madam Speaker, this bill is very, very important. And this amendment which has been brought, it is a very good amendment. I've seen that Section 5.1 and Section 5.2 both talks about having that designated gazetted area and also having persons appointed as registrars and deputy registrar. So we will ensure also, because the officers we're having right now, they are very few. You go to Mombasa County, you see queues, very long queues, and people have come there from very early in the morning, from 5 a.m. They are queuing, and you can imagine somebody can stay there for all those hours, and he doesn't even read the desk of that officer to do just the application. When you're talking about technology and we are saying that you can do the online application, but now, is our country connected? Is the entire country connected? That is, if I say I go to Kitui in the rural, in the villages, or I go to an area in Kwale called Kiteje, where it's so remote and the connectivity is not there, are these people going to be able to do that online application? And the answer is no. So we need to ensure that we are going as per the Constitution, and also we are helping Kenyans to access those very important services, which include the birth and death registration. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Martha Wangari.
Very well. The Honorable Member for Geshugu. The Honorable Geshimu.
Thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this very, very important bill by a member for Gilgil, Honorable Martha Wangari. And I remember it has been a long journey to reach where this bill has reached. I remember in the last parliament, the 12th parliament, Honorable Martha Wangari brought a motion which was overwhelmingly supported by all the members of parliament who were able to contribute that time. And now, that motion now has graduated into a bill. Congratulations, and you are true representatives of the people of Gilgil and the entire country, because this bill seeks to ease the accessibility of government services in terms of the provision of birth certificates and death certificates in this country. Honorable Speaker, apart from making the process of getting this document easier, it also seeks to decongest the counties or county headquarters where normally these services are usually provided, because as the previous contributor has said, there are many queues sometimes, and people have to go long distances, very tired, they queue, and at the end of the day, they might not even get these services. So, Honorable Speaker, the suggestion by the committee to amend so that now it can cover the sub-county is also very welcome, because when we leave it as it is, although Honorable Martha Wangari had already considered that aspect, that the cabinet secretary shall appoint at least one registration area. I think what was running in her mind was that she was not limiting it to the constituency level. So, but when it is clarified that every sub-county ought to have a registration area, then that ambiguity at least disappears. Honorable Speaker, I feel also for my constituents. I don't have a registration area within Geshogo constituency. I have a ward which neighbors Embu County, near which neighbors Manyata, Embu County. And people from that area, a place called Gedore, go all the way about, okay, in some areas it might sound not too long or not a lengthy place. It's not a lengthy distance, but they cover about 40 kilometers. I know there are some areas in this country, people cover over 100 kilometers or even 200 kilometers to access these services. But, Honorable Speaker, what we need to do as members of parliament, as we also support this, because now our NGCDF committees have the mandate also to provide infrastructure for government institutions on matters of national government, then I believe this will be one of the areas that we will be oversighting our NGCDF committees at the constituency level to see that, that they've also taken into account that the government might not be able to do all the infrastructural work. And I believe NGCDF will be coming in handy to help the communities in setting up these registration areas. Honorable Speaker, I totally agree with all the members who have contributed before, and I do not wish to belabor my points. I totally support this bill, and I do pray that before we break for recess, we'll have already finished with it and read for the third time to await the presidential assent. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Joseph Cherorot, member for Kipkelion East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to support the bill brought by Honorable Martha Wangari, member of Parliament of Gilgil. I must congratulate her and congratulate the people of Gilgil for electing her a second time, and I know they will still give her a chance to represent them in this. They'll give her that time to represent people of Gilgil in this Parliament, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to say that birth certificate is a legal document. It's a very important document which can be used not only to identify an individual, but also to access services in the government. Madam Speaker, it's a document that can make us realize that, or people to realize our potential of being citizens of this country. This document has to be given out for free, Madam Speaker. And the challenge that we still have, having come a long way since 1963, almost 60 years since we attained our independence, still is this a document that is a bit difficult to access to it, Madam Speaker. The only way, Madam Speaker, as my colleagues have mentioned, is to make sure that we take these services closer to the people. Actually, it's not enough to do it at the county or at the sub-county level. It has to be taken way back even to the villages where citizens can access, and most of our children, Madam Speaker, can get registration. Madam Speaker, this will also help. Owning a birth certificate, Madam Speaker, can help us even to claim the possession of our children. At times we have those who have been doing the business of child trafficking, and I want to say that birth certificate is very important because a parent can be able even to trace her child or his child whenever there is any challenge or a problem, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this one also can help us to be able to realize or get to know about the age of a person. Because the same document or birth certificate, you can use it to register your ID. Madam Speaker, the other day we had a big scandal, or a scandal, which was aired by BBC in those sides of Mayo, Madam Speaker, whereby there was still this issue of child as sexual exploitation, which, Madam Speaker, I think it was just...
Honorable Cherot, I know that's a very sensitive matter, but because it was discussed in this House when the substantive speaker was on this seat, what is coming out is that there could be some information that is not factual.
Yes.
I think it is important that it comes out that way.
I'll apply, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I want to say that also Kenya has gone digital, Mr. Speaker. And to do this birth certificate registration can be done also online. We've talked about the Huduma Center, Madam Speaker. In my area, Madam Speaker, it's a challenge because currently we don't have Huduma Center. And I want to say that if we have several Huduma Centers at the lower level, at the grassroots, Madam Speaker, it will be able to, it will help us to fast track and to make sure that no child is actually left out when we are doing the registration, Madam Speaker. Again, Madam Speaker, registering our children or having the birth certificate can help our country to budget economically and to make sure that when they are doing the budget, they know the government can be able to know the population of its citizens, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to say also that the same document can help also our children, Madam Speaker, from being vulnerable, from vulnerability, Madam Speaker, because it can help to make sure that those children access education and they can also access other government services, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I want to say that I support the bill, and I want to thank Honorable Mother Wangare for bringing this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support the bill.
Thank you very much, Member for Kipkelion East. The Honorable Wilberforce Oundo, Member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also support a bill by Honorable Martha Wangari, because if I didn't, I would lose some privileges that I always get in some places. Honorable Speaker, I must say, it might also look...
What is out of order? You have withdrawn your... Okay, thank you very much for withdrawing. Proceed.
From the onset, we could look at it as a knockers amendment, proposed amendment, but it's extremely important, Honorable Speaker. I'm lucky that my constituency of Funyula has got a registration section with very hard-working men and women that facilitate. But I want to echo the sentiment raised by my colleagues that we are members of the National Assembly that represents the interests of all the people of Kenya, and therefore any bill that attempts to solve the problems of Kenya must be supported unequivocally and in wholesale. Honorable Speaker, I also want to agree with the comments by the chair of the committee that instead of talking about our constituency, let's look at the Ngao administrative unit. And I say so because I was in High Court the day some courts of High Court judges poked holes on NGCDF, arguing that our constituency is not an administrative unit, it's an electoral unit. So to avoid that ambiguity and to avoid any busybody going to court and forestalling such a progressive bill, I request Martha to agree that we move, so that we move from the word constituency, but to county or sub-county or a division, as might be outlined in the Ngao Act. Honorable Speaker, many places along the border, many counties along the border have got another unique problem. And the unique problem is this, Honorable Speaker, and I want Martha, as you proceed to prosecute this matter, you must bring this to the fore. For a child to get a birth certificate, the mother requires an ID card or some form of identification about nationality. I come from Busia. Funyula constituency generally. We have many cases of young, beautiful ladies who cross over from Uganda. They come to look for better economic prospects in Kenya and get hard-working Samia men who marry them. Unfortunately, before they lifted this blanket ban, they were never eligible to get IDs. So you'd imagine a lady presenting a birth notification without an ID, the child will not get a birth certificate. So you find that, Honorable Speaker, in Funyula constituency, about 50% of children who are in primary school are not in MEMS database because they do not have a birth certificate. Many times, we have to be ingenious to even get them registered for exams. Indeed, and that's why I wanted we go beyond the proposal here and probably look at other clauses or sections in the law to enable us probably drop some of this draconian and unreasonable documentation required for this particular aspect. So that you see, once a child is confirmed to have been born in Kenya, there is a birth notification. Regardless whether the parents have got the necessary citizenship documents, that child is a Kenyan by birth, they should be accorded all documents that allow them to naturalize their citizenship of Kenya. So that's a matter that I probably will review, will consult, and see whether we can expand the amendment here to go to matters that were not contemplated. Honorable Speaker, the other issue also I want to bring, and this I want to bring to the ladies who are here and the mothers all over this country. There is an emerging trend that sometimes we confront when the NGCDF issues bursary application during a bursary application. You'd find a birth certificate has got the mother's name, but the father's section has got some stars, some cancelled. So obviously, naturally, some of us cannot understand how is that possible. We normally ask questions. And the answers that we get, and this is also a matter to ponder about, that one, the expected father declined to provide the documentation to be included on the birth certificate. Honorable Mother, since you have started this journey, it's a matter you need to apply to yourself. What can we do? Because naturally, a child has got a father and a mother. Naturally. The only person who is known not to have had a father was Jesus Christ. In recorded history, I've read very many history books. I've never come across any child who came into this world without any combined effort between a male and a female. So it baffles many of us, the grandfather, so to speak, it baffles many of us that a birth certificate...
we have a point of order from the Honorable Moses Kirima. Are you raising this because of your position as a bishop or...
As a member of parliament, when we are sitting here, infringing on other people's faith, which is not right. How can he say that Jesus didn't have a father? We know that Jesus is a son of God. So that...
Thank you, Bishop, for that clarification. And let me rephrase it.
Because now we are in a house of rules. So give me a minute.
He didn't have a biological father.
No, I'll give a time to conclude.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. So as we delve in this registration details and as provided for in the Children's Act, as provided for in the Constitution, we must find a way to solve this conundrum because it's very traumatizing for a child to go to school. They are requested to produce birth certificates for any reason or another. One produces a birth certificate that has two parents, another produces a birth certificate that one parent is blank. I urge you to expand your mind, delve into this matter, and help us find a way how we can solve this matter. And being a man, Honorable Speaker, many of the boy child would obviously come to me when they are suspected to be the father. So when we sit and talk to them, they say they have no certainty of being the father. There's no certainty because once the ball is in the pitch, many people knock around that ball. You don't know who will knock it last. So that's a debate we must have. How do we ascertain paternity beyond reasonable doubt so the child enjoys the constitutional right of having both the parents on their certificate? Honorable Speaker,
Honorable
I don't want to
Wilberforce,
belabor the
I'll
point.
also encourage you to watch a reality show called Divorce Court, and you will realize that we are not the only ones in this country that are struggling with a blank space, more so for a father.
And then probably Bishop needs to pray for the fathers to accept the outcome of their endeavors so that they don't run away from the lives of their children. With those very many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Thank you very much, Professor. The Honorable David Mboni, member for Kitui Rural.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Let me say on the onset, I want to thank Honorable Mother for proposing this bill. And on onset, let me say I support it. Madam Speaker, when I was working in the World Bank, we had a project which we are calling STATCA project, called Statical Capacity Building Project, and I was the manager of that project. And we are funding most of these activities to improve the capture and dissemination of data on these things. Madam Speaker, the data for death and birth is very important. In fact, in developed countries, they don't conduct population census. Because if you have a proper data for immigration, data for birth and death, then you can do your mathematics and you don't need to waste a lot of money to conduct population census. At the head count, you can be able to do it. And Madam Speaker, you know data for population. Anything we are doing, be it division of revenue, population is a very key factor in terms of planning for this country currently. Mr. Speaker, this bill to me is very important because where I come from, I'm one of the people who are affected because the offices for registrations of persons, actually it's called civil registration. They are very far. Me and you know where you come from. We come from Kitui. And most of the offices, the major office is in Kitui town. And most of my people, they move from almost 80 kilometers to access these services. So the proposal to bring it to sub-county level, to me that is going to help a lot. Madam Speaker, most of these offices, they are not, the offices are not properly accommodated. There's no good accommodation for the officers, even at the headquarters. And as I said, people come from very far. If you go to these offices, they are very crowded. You go there, even to get the services can be a challenge. I mean, if somebody is moving for 80 kilometers and go there and find that you can't get the services, that's not very good. So I think it's very important if this office can be brought near the people so that people can get the services which they require. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, if you look at the training, and this, I mean, everybody knows that the country is lacking finances. These staff, most of them are not trained. In fact, most of the staff who are working there, they are interns, which require we all require training. I mean, the staff should be trained, and the staff should be equipped with computing equipment so that at least they can be able to give proper services to the people. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I think with those few remarks, I support.
Thank you very much, Honorable Malika. The Honorable Moses Kerima, member for Central Imenti.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this important bill. First, I thank the mover of the bill, Madam Mother Wangari, for having this bill at the late time, because this is a time when we are going to have the registration of voters, and the people are supposed to be issued with identity cards, and they can't have identity cards mainly without a birth certificate. Madam Speaker, this bill as it is, it's important to the Kenyans because there are a number of things which have taken place within a span of 2 to 3 years, of which time before, the birth certificate and certificate for death used to be issued by the registrar at a very minimal cost of about 50 shillings. But as per the date today, to have a birth certificate is costing the common man much amount of money which a number of them cannot afford. And not the birth certificate alone, even the death certificate, for those who want to use the same birth certificate, death certificate to acquire letters of administration as it's required by the law, that there must be an evidence that somebody is dead. For that person to be certified to be dead, there must be a death certificate. The common man in the village is also getting it very difficult to acquire the same because of the cost. 1,000 shillings for a birth certificate and 1,000 shillings for a death certificate actually is enormous. So it should be considered that we are not doing so much favor because this is a constitutional right for one to have this document. But now, for our people to enjoy this constitutional right, is not guaranteed because we have banned them for we have put prices which they cannot afford to acquire the same. To me, I would find it very easy. If Madam Mother, I can go further, of which I would propose that if a child can be given a birth certificate at the hospital, as it is done in Western countries. In developed countries, if you go to America, if you go to Britain, Germany, and those other countries which are surrounding let's say, the European countries, you'll find that a child is given a birth certificate at the hospital of birth. Where a child is born is where a child is supposed to acquire a birth certificate. The same as where a patient dies is where a person dies, not necessarily a patient, because some die without being sick. I don't know how it is, but when it comes to the postmortem, they are found to be having some complications here and there. But there are those people who go to sleep, where they are very normal. It is said to be very, ordinarily they are very normal. But when it comes to the morning, they don't wake up. But see, those ones, they are the ones who are supposed to be given death certificates in the registries and so on. But a person who dies, let's say, in a hospital in Nairobi, should be given death certificate in that hospital which he died, because it's easier. complications put ahead by the time they acquire birth certificates and also death certificates to pursue the acquiring the deceased person's property. In essence, we should make it more easy for them to assess these documents. For this, it's a necessity. It's expedient and death and birth certificate. It's a prerequisite in a number of acquiring many things in Kenya. Let's say a passport, or even an identity card, and so on. So it's really complicated for even children to register in running institutions without a birth certificates. That's why I'm suggesting that if we can have it from the hospital of birth, there is no problem. Why not? What's the issue? What is all this that you can see somebody is born, there's a notification on birth, and then there only later somebody says that you should not be given a birth certificate? Is it that you have just been dropped from somewhere, that someone else should come to certify that you are born? If your mother is there, what is all these other things you are trying to follow? If there is a father, documents will be issued to show that this is so and so, the father of so and so. And when the kid grows, things can be changed to identify the father. By the way, you find in Kikuyu, it's a very interesting place. You go and find that Kimani wa Wanjiku. In Meru, there is nothing like that. Oh, sijui Kichimo wa Wairimo. So you wonder. So then why can't, if there is Kichimo wa Wairimo, why can't he be given his birth certificate at the place of birth? And Wairimo is in that bed with a child there. Why shouldn't he get the papers to go home with count notification instead of birth certificate? So to me, I support this bill. But, Madam Speaker, a number of things needs to be considered, even though we try to make and call Kenya a modernized state or upcoming modern state. There are a number of things which are dragging us backward, the way we were in the 1960s. And this is one of them, whereby you cannot allow a child to get a birth certificate in the hospital, which he has been born, as it is in America, Britain, or any other country. That's all, Madam Speaker. I support the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Kirima. So, honorable members, there be no more interest in this bill. I now call upon the mover to reply. Honorable Martha Wangari.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you can see the extent of the support of this bill. Cuts across the counties, cuts across regions, cuts across parties. It is a matter that is very close to many of us. Madam Speaker, I want to thank my colleagues for all the comments, for all the support they have given. And Madam Speaker, the one thing I must agree with, maybe with Honorable Kirima to start with, is that the bureaucracy of government sometimes is not something you can even understand. Because every time you get a child in hospital, you get your birth notification, the pink paper, you go home, it takes like 3 months for you to get that birth certificate. But if it was efficient, it should be processed right at the hospital, and you get your birth certificate, Madam Speaker. And even at when you get to 18 years, it should be automatic that you get an ID, because you are born to start with. Madam Speaker, some of these requirements are making it very hard, unnecessarily so, to acquire these documents, Madam Speaker. That's why you hear Honorable Kirima speaking about the letter of the chief. You hear about the notifications and the time it takes, Madam Speaker. But also what Honorable Undo has raised is very critical. Of course, I wanted to tell him that the father of Jesus was Joseph. But more importantly, Jesus was not a normal baby. Jesus was the Son of God. So we are not able to compare with the situations. But I also have interacted with very many women, Madam Speaker, with different reasons why the father name is not in the birth certificate. And that sometimes also gets the chief to be involved because of that. And any parent who wants to be included, Madam Speaker, there are the legal ways and a way to do it, Madam Speaker. But we cannot punish a child, and it is also not illegal to have one parent on the birth certificate. Madam Speaker, I know the Honorable Timothy Kiprotich had spoken about what the CS is already doing, the Jukwaa la Usalama forums that he's undertaking, and some of the pronouncements that he's doing on the ground, like he said in his county, and even when he was in Nakuru on Tuesday, Madam Speaker, of this week, he also made other pronouncements of establishing the registries of the civil registries for Rongai constituency and for Subukia. So, Madam Speaker, it is already happening, but that discretion is what we must cure with this bill. That you don't have to be made to make noise, you don't have to bring a motion to this floor, you don't have to beg, like Ona Bungeno said, that you have even given them an office and furniture and they still don't bring a registrar. That discretion is what we want to give to we want to deal with, Madam Speaker, so that every sub-county, or as constituencies I had proposed, Madam Speaker, gets a mandatory registration center. That way, Madam Speaker, the issue of which party you belong to, the issue of who are you supporting for what position, do not appear there, Madam Speaker. Every person should be served equally, Madam Speaker, to be able to get these services. Madam Speaker, I know many members have wanted to speak to this, and we have had so many, but the growth of this motion, Madam Speaker, when I brought it as a motion, it was 2020. I was lucky I got my center because of that motion. But how many other members wanted those centers? And I would have stopped at that point because Gilgil already was sorted. But I said, Madam Speaker, we legislate in this house for posterity. We don't do it just for ourselves. We want to do it equally and with no discrimination. And I want to thank all members for their support. Honorable Wako, who is seated here, Honorable Oundo, Honorable Kirema, all the ones that have supported, Boni, Omanyo, and all of them, Madam Speaker, Makali, who was very passionate about it. I appreciate all their support, and I hope that we can be able to get to the end of this. Honorable Ishimo too, Madam Speaker, who also has confirmed that he doesn't even have a civil registration center. And Madam Speaker, I want to also confirm that we discussed this with the seconder of this bill, who is the chair, Honorable Tongoyo, and we agreed that we'll move amendments on third reading or in the committee of the whole, so that we align with the Ngao Act, which is, for me, I wanted the political the political boundaries, Madam Speaker, but I am overpowered, but I also agree. We can start with the sub-counties. Some constituencies have more than one, and we hope that at least in every sub-county, we have a registrar to be able to kickstart that office. I thank you, and I beg to reply.
Thank you very much, Honorable Martha Wangari. Thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable members, I now put the question that the Births and Deaths Registration Amendment Bill, National Amendment Bill number 37 of 2024, be now read a second time. As many as of that opinion say aye. As many as of a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Birth and Death Registration Act and for connected purposes.
So, honorable members, order number 14, for convenience of the House, it is going to be dropped to be scheduled at another time by the House Business Committee. Next order.
Order number 15, motion, consideration of fifth report on examination of financial statements of selected state corporations.
Public Investment Committee and Social Services, Administration and Agriculture. I can see the chair is not in the House at this moment. Next order.
Order number 16, motion, consideration of report on the examination of financial statements for the Water Sector Trust Fund.
Honorable members, the Chairperson Special Funds Accounts Committee is also not in the House at the moment. Next order.
Order number 17, the Kenya Roads Amendment number 3 Bill, National Assembly Bill number 34 of 2025, second reading.
Honorable members, this one is by a member, the Honorable Kaluma, who is also in a different engagement. So we can move to the next order.
Order number 18, the Privatization Bill, National Assembly Bill number 36 of 2025, second reading.
So the majority leader also is not in at the moment. And the time now being 6:55 p.m., this House stands adjourned until the morning of Tuesday, the 19th of August, 2025 at 10 a.m.